Madara, the man who rivaled the strongest ninja of his time, versus Whitebeard, the man who was rivals with the king of the pirates. Both are not only iconic antagonists, but fighters who will literally 1v500 you just for the fun of it. Also, I thought this match itself was pretty fitting since Naruto and One Piece are both shonens that get compared a lot, especially when it comes to the versus battle community. And in today's video, I'm joined by Broken Ronin, who's going to help me talk about the Naruto stuff while I'm here mainly talking about the One Piece scaling. Go ahead and say what's up to the people, Ronin.
What up, guys? Broken Ronin here, and obviously, as Tylun kind of said, we're going to be talking about Madara versus Whitebeard, two kind of titanic forces of their respective series, and kind of going over who we think would win, why, and really how we think their power, speed, and hacks interact in a sort of versus battle conflict.
Now for round 1, we are going to be having Whitebeard versus Madara equal stats, or I guess both of them being capped at planet level and faster than light, which me and Ronin are both going to be proving why they both are at those levels. So basically round 1 is equal stats, but technically not really. This is just a way for me and Ronin to get rid of the little debunks or the downplay that is amongst these verses. Like mountain level Naruto and island level One Piece, yeah, we're not doing that here. And for round 2, it's basically just going to be Whitebeard versus Madara. Normally, objectively, how would it go? And with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys genuinely do enjoy this video, and let's get right into it. Whitebeard is stated multiple times to have the power to destroy the world, and this is in reference to the Earth, so you can't even try and say, oh well, it could be in reference to a civilization like a city or a society, or some lame ass shit. His power is literally earthquakes, bruh. This man can probably just make a whole earthquake around the planet and crumple it. That's probably how he can destroy the whole planet with his devil fruit. Maybe that's why they make this statement in the first place. But regardless, with his devil fruit, Whitebeard should be able to destroy the One Piece planet, and we know the One Piece world in comparison to our planet is so much bigger. So Whitebeard based off this should be well into planetary bare minimum. And as for speed, well, Whitebeard is easily light speed based off him being able to intercept Kizaru and Marineford, and even before this, characters like Luffy and Zoro at Saobody were reacting to Kuma's lasers, which is light based. Now there are calculations based off these feats, and they range from 2 times to 18 times faster than light. And we already know Whitebeard massively upscales from characters like Zoro and Luffy, so yeah, we don't even need to talk about that. Mans is literally known as the world's strongest pirate. Now before we move on, there are 2 things I want to talk about, and that is 3D2Y and Kizaru being light speed. Now, people like to bring up this statement, which is the fact that he can only kick at the speed of light, but that's not what the statement is implying. All he's asking is if he's ever been kicked at the speed of light. We also know from the data books, they say that he throws only light speed attacks, and people like to say Kizaru is made out of only light, so he can only travel at light speed. Even though there are multiple lines of scaling that you can use for characters to beat FTL in this verse, and I always see people just trying to make this Kizaru only being light speed thing consistent, but the only thing that isn't consistent is the fact that Kizaru is attacking at only light speed. If there are multiple feats of these characters being FTL and you are saying, well, Kizaru is light speed, then we would have to come to the conclusion that Kizaru is moving faster than we thought, and if anything, this is just a baseline to his abilities. Like, you seriously can't tell me that you're just gonna debunk all these FTL or light speed feats for One Piece and just sit here and say Kizaru is only light speed based off a statement. Mind you, a statement that you can interpret differently. It doesn't have to be interpreted as, oh, he can only attack at light speed. This is just a baseline, if anything. And the second thing I want to address is 3D2Y, which I'm just going to say outright, it's canon. Oda not only approved of this film, but he also made characters for this film. He literally saw the draft of this film, seeing how this was just basically adding more character to Luffy for pre-time skip, or adding on from the original story, and Oda's approving it. Like, at this point, it just comes down to if this movie contradicts something blatantly, then we can use it as an inconsistency, which surprisingly, the movie doesn't. But anyways, there's a guy in there that can amp himself over 100 times, and in base, he should already be above the Saobody Straw Hats. And with his 100 times amp, he was scrapping with Gear 2 Luffy, who was able to overpower him with Red Hawk. Now, since we already said how Saobody and Zoro by Saobody were already well into light speed, and this guy can amp himself over 100 times, and Gear 2 Luffy is beating this guy, you already know Whitebeard massively upscales from this, and bare minimum, he's already 100 times faster than light. And as for hacks, well, he's got all forms of Haki, which basically means he's got precognition, a form of fear hacks via Conqueror's Haki, and can enhance his attacks with armament Haki. Along with being able to bypass durability due to his devil fruit just basically being vibrations, so he just sends vibrations through your body. And he was able to bypass things such as Aokiji's ice with his devil fruit and has an insane amount of stamina. Or I guess pain tolerance, because stamina, would technically mean how he was in Marineford, which is basically getting weaker and weaker, which in that case, he has ass stamina. But in terms of how much pain he can take, oh my god, this man is a beast. Not only did he get half of his face ripped off by a Kainu, plus being attacked by Kizaru and Aokiji, he was not only pressing them back as he was getting hurt, but he also suffered 267 sword wounds, 152 bullet wounds, and 46 cannon wounds before completely collapsing. Whitebeard is a Chad and is definitely going to be giving Madara a hard time in this fight.
So for Madara scaling, there's kind of a lot of ways you can get him to like the kind of the scales you need him to be able to face off against someone like Whitebeard. To start off with his AP, really just have to use the databook statement of half of Kurama being able to turn the world to ash, right? Then you scale Hashirama to that. Hashirama is able to bully all of the Biju and then redistribute them out like candy to all of the other villages. And then Madara obviously was able to scale to that Madara and actually exhaust his chakra and force him to kind of exhaust his Sage mode and regular chakra, right? If you want to be weird about it and say, oh, you know, when it says turn the world to ash, it's not literally talking about the planet. That's fine. We also have Madara being able to just have more chakra or keep down beings like the Ten Tails that are so powerful. Just the existence of its chakra, no jutsu applied, nothing like that. Just its sheer volume of chakra is that of a small planet. Obviously, we know time and time again that sheer chakra does not even anywhere near like scale to the full power of ninjutsu or the application that ninja are able to apply to it, right? Which is why, you know, you can take two approaches to saying that Hashirama and, you know, therefore Kurama and these other like high level Biju characters can scale to this planetary area. And obviously as Hashirama's rival, Madara would scale as well, right? Multiple ways you can get there. Whether or not you believe the data book is a reliable source of information or not, you can still get Hashirama and therefore Madara to that planetary range. Along with that, if you want to go into speed, there's really a lot of ways you can get Madara to that level. You can just say that Naruto blitzing or outspeeding the Raikage, who should at the bare minimum be light speed in the series. And then obviously Madara scales to a stronger form of Naruto, scaling above even KCM2, and really scaling more towards Hashirama in both of their Edo forms. Edo obviously being a weaker version of their alive self. If you don't want to use that, if you want to say, oh, the data book says Raikage moves like light or moves near the speed of light, there's another way you can get them. You just simply say Sasuke in the 5 Kage Summit scales below Madara, which I'm pretty sure most people would agree with, but if you don't, literally just look at any encounter they have in the war. Sasuke is able to react to and actually block with his Susanoo, Darui's Storm Release Laser Circus, which is literally stated to just be light that can be manipulated freely, right? And it's clear that in the 5 Kage Summit, Sasuke is able to react. Haku's able to move at light speed. All of these really comparatively weak or slow characters who Madara are able to move at light speed. It'd just be really strange to argue that Madara isn't able to get to these levels. Obviously, you can get him much higher depending on the calcs you want to use. Naruto blitzing the Raikage. This can range from anywhere from like just barely light speed all the way to dozens of times, like 72 times faster than light. So to say that Madara doesn't scale to light speed or faster than light would just be a little silly, and we obviously have demonstrated that Madara has that planetary and light speed scaling. For Madara's hacks, there's a lot, right? To say that there'd be a lot would be a little bit of an understatement. We have precog, we have genjutsu, we have a lot of things that Madara has for his abilities. Obviously the Sharingan, even in its base 3 Tomoe state, is able to precog to the extent of like allowing characters that were once blitzing you to be their movements in the future. They're able to perceive everything that they're able to do before they do it. In the Sasuke versus Naruto part 1 fight, Naruto before this was completely blitzing and bullying Sasuke, but after activating just the 3rd Tomoe, he's able to see Naruto's movements just based off the smallest micro movements that he makes. And really it's just precog, simply put. The Mangekyo Sharingan takes us to an even higher degree. With this, he's granted the Susanoo, which is higher AP, higher durability, which is always important in a fight, and many other abilities that he has, like the Uchiha fan, which is able to reflect attacks as seen in the War Arc. In the event that Madara is fatally injured by Whitebeard in this fight, he has Izanagi, which, in case you guys don't know, is basically reality manipulation on a relatively small scale. As we see in the Danzo versus Sasuke fight, it just basically allow him to rewrite reality to the extent of him not dying. So if we were to say Whitebeard does land a fatal blow on Madara in this first round, we can just easily kind of cover that up and say, oh yeah, Izanagi, he uses up one of his Sharingan and is able to revive himself.
Okay, now we'll start this versus battle off finally, now that we're done viewing both characters. And for round 1, aka the equal stats or the cap at planetary and FTL, me and Ronin already talked about this fight before even recording, and we both agreed that Madara for sure is definitely going to be smacking Whitebeard in relative stats.
A lot of the kind of reason is Madara's hacks, at least from, what we've discussed, seems to be a little bit more advantageous in this fight than Whitebeard's, right? Obviously, his analytical prowess and the precog should be something that I think we agreed, like, even with observation hockey, Whitebeard shouldn't be able to match up with. I mean, if you want, there's several occasions of just the base Sharingan allowing you to perceive and actively guard against people that once blitzed you, right? We see, like, I don't know, for example, in the Haku fight, right? Haku was blitzing Sasuke before, but as soon as he develops his Sharingan, he's able to see, perceive, and react to Haku, which is just a microcosm of the many examples that we have of the analytical prowess of the Sharingan. It's pretty broken in that aspect, or it's able to allow you to overcome like many blitz differences between the two. So if they're at all relative, Madara would basically be seeing Whitebeard in slow motion, and along with his myriad of jutsu, obviously you have his fire style, you have all that stuff. You have his AP being relative to Whitebeard. You have the Susanoo, which obviously is just insanely strong. And if that wasn't enough, I don't know how really durable, or I guess how much stamina Whitebeard has, but Madara was able to fight like a character who basically is the most chakra in the verse, outside of like characters like Naruto once he fully masters Kurama's chakra, right? And he was able to fight him to basically a standstill, right? On top of just having the most chakra as a baseline, he was able to fight Sage Hashirama even, and fight him to the point where they were both basically out of chakra, and Hashirama can only win by tricking Madara and using his last chakra to make a wood clone, right? They were fighting for a long time, right? And we know characters that are relative to Hashirama in chakra reserves like Naruto are able to fight wars and give people dozens of time, like give thousands of shinobi their chakra 3 times over. It's like the level of chakra that Hashirama and honestly Madara should have would just be completely insane. And obviously in this case, chakra is a direct link to your stamina and ability to keep fighting.
And with that, round 1 goes to Madara. Now we're going to be looking at Whitebeard versus Madara objectively, or normally how the fight should go. So I'm just going to say it right now, Whitebeard is way faster than Madara and clears him in speed, and it doesn't matter if you think Madara is stronger physically, Whitebeard literally just sends vibrations through his body with one punch. And in all honesty, no matter what attack Madara throws at Whitebeard, Whitebeard is just going to be negging him, since he is capable of destroying the One Piece planet, which has been calculated to be around dwarf star level in size. Meaning not only is he way faster with the 3D2Y stuff, but he's also physically way more powerful. Although it doesn't matter because Neg.
Yeah, when we get a little bit more, I guess, not necessarily exaggerative, but when we really give like full credit to both characters, the gap in speed starts to become a little bit more prominent. We see that with Naruto, the speed scaling kind of gets to light speed. It gets a little bit above that, like faster than light. And then it kind of just starts, like, not necessarily capping off because characters keep getting faster, but it gets more and more unquantifiable. For example, right, we see that KCM Naruto, like, blitzes the Raikage, and depending on your interpretation of a few things, you could say that ranges anywhere from, I mentioned this earlier, like, barely light speed, like 72 times faster than light. And that's fine, right? KCM Naruto is not, like, really a speed demon in the verse in comparison to someone like Madara, right? Because he gets KCM 2, KCM 1.5, and then he, like, remasters it and all that stuff, right? The only problem is, none of that is quantifiable by any means. And what I mean by this is the difference in power between KCM 1 and KCM 2 is completely unknown. You can only really speculate on how much faster and stronger and how much more chakra it gives him, because in all honesty, Kishimoto doesn't necessarily illustrate, oh, this is a 4 times increase, this is a 10 times increase. He just like, he's faster and he's stronger now, which is fine, but for scaling purposes, that doesn't really do much. All you can really say, maybe just you make a few assumptions of like KCM2 Naruto is like, you know, maybe a blitz difference factor, which even then is a really big assumption. Then you say like Madara is able to react and move in tandem with that. And you say maybe Madara slips into that MFTL range, like barely like 100 times faster than light. But even that, once again, is stretching it. And then on top of that, that still wouldn't really scale to Whitebeard in terms of speed. Obviously, the Sharingan can make up for a little bit of this. We mentioned this earlier, me specifically talking about like how it allows for keeping up or maybe even outspeed, not necessarily outspeeding, but like going hand to hand with characters that are able to blitz you. However, I don't know if we have a direct comparison of like a 10 times speed difference, right? If you said like Whitebeard is like 1,000 times faster than Light or something like that. And I'm just not sure if Madara's like Sharingan, even with the Mangekyo, would be able to keep up with that per se.
Yeah, the Sharingan's not going to be able to clear that type of speed advantage, and all in all, I think Whitebeard is just, it's just really bad, because Madara has the hacks and abilities to potentially put Whitebeard down. However, Whitebeard is just so much faster and stronger, and the way how both fighters are, it's just going to be really bad for Madara.
Yeah, so here's the way I look at it, right? Here's my interpretation of it, right? If you plug in a controller into these characters and you make them fight the way you want to, Madara can pull out a win even in round 2 if you just make him like Sharingan Genjutsu instantly, right? Like that's what he does immediately right out the gate. No hesitation, no waiting, right? He just looks into Whitebeard's eyes. In fact, he doesn't even have to do that with the Mangekyo Sharingan. He can just insert chakra into Whitebeard's eyes just by looking at his, right? And it's like, boom, Genjutsu done, right? And, or you could say, oh, he gets killed, Izanagi while Whitebeard's like off guard, boom, kill him, right? However, the problem kind of arises when you look at how Madara fights, and he doesn't really fight dirty like that. Like, not necessarily dirty, but he doesn't fight like a character like, say, Itachi, right? Itachi's very reliant on Genjutsu. Madara really isn't, because most characters he comes across in his own verse, he just dog walks in every aspect, right? Physical speed, strength, agility, all this stuff, he just completely obliterates. So we don't really see Madara rely on things like Genjutsu or trickery or anything like that. The Izanagi strat is still a viable one. Whitebeard could probably, not probably, if he hits him with Duraneg, Madara will just like die or take some severe damage. And if you think he decides to use Izanagi, he gives up an eye to do that and take Whitebeard off guard, that's possible. But it's definitely much more in favor of Whitebeard this round, considering his speed advantage and his ability to just bypass Madara's durability.
Whitebeard is folding Madara like a pancake. Now go and check out Broken Ronin's channel, as he just hit 25,000 subscribers on his channel. And be sure to subscribe to my channel if you are new to the channel or coming from Broken Ronin's channel, since he's going to be shouting this video out. Hope you guys enjoyed, and take care.